Hi, Dean here with my thoughts for today. And today, my thoughts for today will be thoughts that I teased yesterday. Now, yesterday, which was 2 days before you're seeing this is the day before you're seeing this, I had praised Donald Trump for a number of things that he did that happened over the weekend. But I also said there was something that I said, if anybody is looking for me, especially our friends on the left, for me to criticize Trump, I teased that there was a criticism I have of him, a very big criticism, and that's what I will be talking about today. First, though, I have to praise him again, brief aside here, but I'm recording this just maybe not even a half hour after he gave a speech in Saudi Arabia, an investment forum. It was an excellent speech. He was excellent all the way through it. Very gracious and great reaction from the audience. Now, he had talked about announcements that before he left, he said he would have some big announcements to make. I don't think that was today. The only announcement that I heard him give today was that he was removing all the sanctions that we had placed on Syria under Assad. So he wants to give this new Syrian government a chance. Got a long, that was the biggest applause that he got, and actually it was a very long standing ovation from all these Arabs in the room. And so he deserves praise for that. Now, Syria, it remains to be seen what's going to happen with him, but they have already been making back-channel communications with Israel. They want, I guess we're not going to see something like Syria joining the Abraham Accords. So from what I've heard so far, that could be possible in the future. The new leader of Syria has said that, well, these back-channel communications through intermediaries negotiating with Israel, that to demonstrate, to assure Israel that Syria would not be a threat to Israel, that they're not like Iran. They have no wish for the destruction of Israel. So we'll see how that pans out, but that could be a factor in why Trump is lifting the sanctions, and he can always put them on again. But that is the news. Okay, so now we get to the criticism, because he also talked about, that he brought about a ceasefire between Pakistan and India, but he also talked about Ukraine and Russia, that Putin will be meeting directly with Zelensky in Russia. And Trump, this is where I have a problem with Trump, because I think this, I could be proven wrong, and I'm happy to admit it if I'm wrong. I don't expect a whole lot to come out of that meeting, because I think Putin hasn't backed down from any of his demands, which is basically the complete capitulation of Ukraine. Essentially that Ukraine would cease to exist as an independent country, that never mind just Crimea or the areas that Russia already occupies. They want land beyond that. They want land that they don't occupy. They want, no joining NATO, which I wouldn't expect to happen anyhow. He might be trying. I don't think he did before, did not want Ukraine to join the European Union, which is just an economic union. And there was another one. Ideally he wanted Ukraine to disarm, but definitely not to rebuild its military. All these ridiculous demands, to which what does Zelensky get out of it? What does Ukraine get out of this? So I don't expect a whole lot. And the problem that I have with Donald Trump is he doesn't, it's the question I asked in this to illustrate the point. The question I ask in the title to today's vlog: what if Donald Trump had been president during World War II? Now, we know what happened with FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, as president during World War II. England was attacked by England and France. France was actually invaded. England was attacked by Germany, and they asked, well, especially England, Winston Churchill asked us to help with, well, eventually we got in with soldiers. We sent 250,000 troops over. No, more than that, actually. I think 250,000 is how many Americans died. No, that's not right. We sent 250,000 troops over there, and hundreds of thousands of American soldiers died in that war. And more important, or just as important, or almost as important, because we're not talking about lives, but materiel. We turned our auto factories into weapons factories, and we gave London everything they needed to defeat the Nazis. And the question, again, is what if Donald Trump had been president? And I know this is what I think could have happened, is that he would have, I'm surprised, somebody should ask him this. Donald Trump, if you were president in 1940, 1939, would World War II have happened? Then he could very likely say, no, if I was president of the United States, World War II never would have happened. Well, I'll have to disagree with him on that. But also, what I am very sure of, that he would have said when Winston Churchill said, because we know what he did with Zelensky, and with Winston Churchill, he would have said, no, I want you and Germany to sit down, you and Hitler meet face to face and make a deal. I will be the broker, I will be the deal maker. And if you don't agree to sit down with Adolf Hitler, then I'm not going to share intelligence, and I'm not going to give you weapons or provide weapons, which, by the way, for which England, they did pay us back. We got all our money. They weren't grants. It was what they called lend-lease. We gave them the weapons to win the war. We provided the weapons but England did eventually, we were repaid for the weapons. But Donald Trump would have said, stop your stupid war. Look how many people are dying every week, and just sit down and negotiate. And very likely the Nazi regime would still be ruling, Nazis would still be ruling Germany today. And they would have, by now they would have atomic weapons too. So they were working on it at the same time as we were. We beat them to the punch, I guess, to the development of nuclear, the atomic bomb. So that is my problem with Donald Trump. He doesn't care about principles. He doesn't care about issues, except that if you hurt the United States or something, then we'll do this, that, or the other thing. We'll destroy you. He's saying with Iran, you better make a deal or else. What really irritated me was that the speech that he just gave, he boasted about, well, we bombed the Houthis and they are no longer going to attack the ships, and how wonderful that is. What he didn't mention is that they are still going to attack Israeli flagged ships, or ships taking products to Israel. And he didn't mention that, and that really disappointed me too. But the really big disappointment is you have Ukraine. They're basically, as I said, Putin's goal is to end, right now, Putin does not recognize Ukraine as a country, as an independent country. He believes it is rightfully part of Russia. He wants to reconstitute the Soviet Union. That's his big dream. So, but the Ukrainians are fighting for their independence, just as we did against England, and you have a megalomaniac like Putin he would love to if he succeeds, gets everything he wants. If he were to succeed in ending Ukraine's existence as an independent country, then you can be sure that Latvia, Moldavia, all the bordering, the former states of or parts of the, I don't know what they called them, not states, well, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, I guess call them republics, all of those would be at risk of being invaded by Russia if Putin's allowed to. And Trump, as far as I can tell, he doesn't see this. He's just a stupid war. All he cares about, he keeps saying it over and over, 5,000 people being men being killed every week, Russians and Ukrainians. He makes no distinctions between the Russians and the Ukrainians, and I think it's because he doesn't. I'd be surprised if he read a single paragraph about the history of the region and Russia, and especially Crimea. Russia seized Crimea in a war in 1852. Okay, it's not, Putin wants, that's the other thing he wants. He wants Zelensky to recognize Crimea as part of Russia. Now, he could do that as part of an agreement and say, we will recognize it going forward. But what Putin wants, my understanding is, or my opinion is, that he wants the Ukrainians, he wants Zelensky, the government of Ukraine, to recognize Crimea as rightfully a part of that it had been a part of Russia, and it was taken from them. And well, I better interrupt just for a second. If you're seeing a jump cut, it's because I got a very important phone call. I had to stop the recording, take the phone call. So here I am back again. I was talking about Crimea, that Putin wants Ukraine, the Ukrainian government, and Zelensky to recognize Crimea as rightfully part of Russia. And the reason that Putin wants that is because that would be justifying, and that's why Zelensky would never agree to this, because that justifies, that it would be Putin's justification for the war, that we launched this war to regain possession of Crimea that is rightfully ours. And obviously Zelensky does not think that. Now, he may recognize in an agreement that going forward, Crimea will be part of Russia, or as of the date of this agreement, if there is one, Crimea is now part of Russia. Similar to other wars, for instance, World War II, there are parts of Germany that are now parts of Poland, and there would be the same principle. But the idea is that Putin, he's lost all these soldiers, all this money, and the sanctions and so on and so forth, and he has to tell the Russian people that everything was worth it. And that would be a justification. If he says, well, I wanted this other part, I wanted this additional land, doesn't belong to us, but I wanted it, and that's what you died for. Well, these Russians died for, to get just to satisfy me and get me some land. So that obviously that would not fly. So he's trying to justify. He wants justification for his war, and also they want, another thing Putin wants is he wants to what they call, he says that any agreement has to address root causes. Now, that's kind of nebulous. I don't know what what all the details are, but basically it's the same thing, that there were some root causes that justify he's talked about denazifying Ukraine, and, well, again, to justify his invasion of Ukraine, and he wants Ukrainians to justify, to admit that the invasion was justified, and obviously they're not going to do that. So getting back to Trump, I don't think he realizes all this, that this is very, very serious. It's not a stupid war, but that his goal just seems to be to stop wars. I think he wants to maintain his reputation as the president who is not a warmonger, who doesn't start wars, but ends wars. That other presidents before him, every president, within recent memory, there's been a war during their presidency, but not during his. And I think he's putting his personal desire to be a president who stops wars, or does that. He's again putting that ahead of what these issues are. The same. We'll see how Pakistan and India work out, but he's basically bribed them. He says, "Well, we'll do trade. We'll do trade deals with both of your countries." So that's good, but the dispute between Kashmir and India, it goes back, between Pakistan and India, it goes back quite a ways, and it's basically a dispute over Kashmir. Both countries claim it as part of their country. Pakistan was part of India and split up because it's majority Muslim, and the Indians are Hindus, and so they split apart. But it's the point is, there's all these issues, and I don't think Trump, for all the good he's done, I think the same thing in another criticism I have of him. I use the example that he would pressure Winston Churchill, had he been president at the time, to negotiate with Adolf Hitler. That is the same thing, that he puts pressure on. He doesn't take doesn't see a division between right and wrong. So you have he wants to. Well, you're probably gonna. This will be another vlog for another day, where you might see a rift between the United States and Israel, because Israel is not going to let Hamas rule Gaza again and leave themselves open to another attack. But the problem is that Biden was much worse, but Trump, he wants to get two sides together, and just as we saw with Ukraine and Russia, he's as willing to lean to pressure an ally as he is to pressure I won't say enemy, adversary, somebody who's not an ally, which would be Russia. And he is willing, he basically lets he pressures his friends more than he pressures his friends' enemies. He doesn't care. He just wants to, quote unquote, end the killing. And I don't know. I guess I've belabored the point as much as I can. So that's it for today. I would love to hear your comments in the comments section below the video. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I'd love to see all of you again. And subscribe. That would be great. Subscribe. But most of all, I'd love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.